everybody. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Margo from My Favorite Quilt Store, and we wanted to show you the Flair Pattern, which is one of our most popular Villa Rosa patterns.
Yes.
Kelly just made it, so Kelly, tell us a little bit about this pattern.
I was reading the pattern and was a little confused. It
Okay.
just said to take your little strips and sew them on top, and you'll deal with the fray later. And I was like, is that it? Are we really doing that? Let's try it.
So this reminds me, now that I see it made, of more like a rag quilt, because it is going to have the frayed edges on top when you're done.
Yes.
And the reason it looks, we've washed this, we've made it, we've quilted it, we've washed it, but we haven't de-threaded it yet, let's say.
Correct. Yes, I did like 4 blocks. I used my chenille brush, and I was loving the outcome. So I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch the movies and do the rest. I just kept like a little cup near me with some scissors and was snipping away. And then once I got that all done, then I was just taking it and brushing it out. The more washes you do, the more fray it's going to have. I was just like, I'm not going to continue to wash this thing over and over and over.
Right.
I'll just do it myself because I can run the TV and watch the movies.
So, you know, I do the same thing with my rag quilts. I go ahead and use a chenille brush on those too, just because it's easier and less cumbersome for me than washing it like 100 times, because I feel like it just gets, tired then.
Yes.
And now you still keep the vibrancy of the colors
Yes.
and everything on it by using the chenille brush. So I think that's a fabulous idea.
Yes. So I was gifted some charm packs. So this is an older collection by Riley Blake. It's called Wildflower Boutique.
Okay.
And I saw the 4 charm packs that she had given me, and I was like, I know what I'm doing. I had this pattern, and I was just thinking to myself, when am I going to grab these 4 charm packs that I like? The prints weren't way too overpowering,
Right.
like in size, so I knew I could like hide them. And if there was like some vines and things that maybe weren't my favorite, and I just covered them up.
Okay. All right. And you
what-
put the blue ones on top of them. You said, I'm going to put the blue on the ones. So you use a combination. So this is a fabric you had by the yard.
I did.
And you cut it out, but you could use charm
More charm
squares.
packs. Yeah.
So if you had solid charm packs, you could use those. And you could, so you would need 4 solid charm packs and 4 printed charm packs. So 8 charm packs total.
Yes. And
So
if you didn't want to do the 8, you could do the yardage, which is 2.5 yards.
Okay, so 2.5 yards of the charm
Of the
pack.
solid, yeah.
Of the solid, but the charm pack actually keeps you from having to cut it, where you can just start sitting and sewing.
Yes.
So depending upon whether you like to cut, don't like to cut, how you do, you could always do it.
Yeah,
with-
and I know sometimes people have smaller spaces, so
Exactly.
working with 2.5 yards can be a lot. It's very cumbersome.
Yes.
It came together beautifully. It was so quick. It was really fun to piece everything. I had a movie on in the background and was just watching. And it is so beginner friendly. It was very forgiving. If you really look at the details, nothing matches. Nothing is perfect. You could really do these little X's, crosses, whatever you call them, in any sort of direction.
Well, let's show them. So you did yours mainly straight. So the thing is, when you get this first wash, you're going to see all these threads on it. You're going to go, oh my gosh. So I know it looks like it's a lot, but if you just take it in sections, it'll be easier. A lot of times what I do is put it over, if I want to standing, and I put it over my ironing board, and then just work on the section that's on my ironing
That's what I was
board,
doing.
and then move it forward, put it on my ironing board, move it forward. And you can also get a rolling chair and move it up to the ironing board and sit if you want to. So I use the ironing board as my friend when I'm laying out doing a section of this, so I can get it done and make sure I've got everything in that section done, versus it just being on top of my lap.
Yes, and the way to get kind of the pattern going was I did the solid color, the charm pack, the solid color, the charm pack, the solid color, the charm pack. So I just made sure to sew those together consistently, and it really came together super quickly. And then I used...
So you didn't lay it out on a design wall. You just
No.
did every other. You put 2 different piles and you sewed one, and they were very random.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the more random this is, it does look like it turns out the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it really random. I tried to do it as easy as I could with like minimum space essentially, just because I know sometimes we don't always have a huge room to work in, and this was one of those quilts that made it really easy. Let's dive in and show you how to get going with it.
We pulled up the blocks so we could take a look and see how to use them.
Yes.
So again, this is the Flair pattern, and a lot of times it does give you a little bit of direction on the back of the Flair pattern, but it's not a real long tutorial on how to actually do this. So Kelly said this is where she had her first stump, and so she wanted to say,
yes,
let me show you how to do this.
And I know sometimes we Google and look up different patterns. This was one I could not find anywhere, and I was like, let's show it, because I wanted to see it, and I wanted to see it up close without any grain or anything like that in the image. So that's what I did here.
Okay, so we took the blue square and you cut it up into how big of
So the charm squares are 5-inch squares.
Right.
That's what they are. What I did was I cut them into sections of 5. So 1 inch by 5 inch. Okay. So the pattern does say that you would cut 4 of them out, just so if you have such a variety in these colors, it is going to be harder to like match them up. But I just put 2 together and I cut them in sections of 5. You can actually see right here that I do have like a frayed edge, which is what you're gonna find in this piece. But if you don't want that, then you could just make sure you do your 4 and cut a little bit off of the edges. So
okay, so you didn't waste.
It didn't matter.
You didn't waste any of your charm square, because you decided you would go ahead and use this.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be frayed anyway, and that'll help the fraying process start.
Exactly, and that's what I said. That doesn't really matter to me. So I just stuck with the same thread going throughout. I stitched, the one side, the other side, and then I added these and then did it again. One side, the other side. So you could do it. So you only worked one block at a time.
Yep. You could actually do them more catty corner if you wanted to.
I didn't want to, because I didn't want it to
not be in there. Okay.
Yep.
So you're saying that you can move them this way. You don't have to. You don't put them right in the center. Move some up, move some down, so that you have a little bit different look.
Yes. And then with the charm packs, they are 4 of all the same ones. So essentially, I did color stack them to where I had all these red pieces, essentially. And I would say, okay, this red piece has them square like this. And then I would do ones like this. And I did alternate them that way. Okay. So you will see that these blocks right here aren't the exact same, because I did plan them that way. Okay. Now, you don't have to be that picky, but I just happened to stack them all and stacks that way, and that's how it worked out.
And say, this is the way I want to do it. So you stacked them by color and then made your determination about how you were going to lay them out. So that in case they did come, because like here's 2 greens right here that are right next to each other, but you can tell they're very varied in size.
Yes.
Or in their placement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I did have extra fabrics left over, because I did do the 5 versus the 4 that it calls for when you're cutting it up. You don't have to do that, but I have some extra pieces. I have just a little box that says 5-inch squares, and I'm just going to throw them in there for another project another day.
Right, because you got your extra one out of here because you didn't mind using the fray.
Exactly.
So could you chain piece these?
Oh, I 100% did.
Okay, so you didn't cut them all the time, so you might sew a lot of the same ones of this one, all the same thing, and then go back and flip it and cut them all up and then do the other ones. Okay. Yep. I wanted to make sure that you had chain pieced it, because I felt like you could.
Yeah. I just had them in a stack. I did a little pin across them and just grabbed one and went, grabbed one and went, and then just kept going.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really didn't come across any problems that I could think of. Yes, I did. You ready?
Okay, let's hear the problem.
So I brought this to my long armor, and she was a little annoyed. I said, don't worry about the stray threads. They're everywhere. That's just how this is going to be, okay? You can see here,
there's all these stray threads. Because it starts to fray the second you sew it and anyone touches it, you get threads everywhere. Yeah. So I can imagine that as a long armor, which I'm a long armor too, is that this would be something that normally for a client you would cut.
And you kind of pull off the threads as you go. I said, don't worry. You don't need to.
Yeah.
So I was just like, just ignore it. She's like, it was really hard for me to get past my like habit. But
Right.
once I did, I was like, I'm just going to leave it as it is. The threads are going to go. So I was like, thankfully, just wearing your long armor. But that was the only problem that I had, which it wasn't even my problem, right?
Right. Right. It wasn't your problem, but for someone else, they're like going, oh my gosh, does she want this to really have all these threads on it? But once you wash it, you're just going to get more threads, and so you might as well wait till you get to the step in the process where you remove them all at the same time instead of going over it 2 or 3 times.
Yes, and then as for the long arm design, I did ask my long armor to do a less dense pattern so that it would fray just a little bit more.
Okay.
So that's just something to also keep in mind when you do pass that on to your long armor. But
Yeah.
all in all, it was a really fun, easy project. My husband said it is his favorite. I think he's going to steal it from me, even though it has flowers on it. He loved the dark colors.
But you can't really tell it's floral because they're in such small places that it really hides the floralness of this. It reads to me of more of a solid pattern.
But yeah, it was really fun. I definitely recommend it. The pattern is $2.
$2.
So easy to work with. If you guys have any questions at all, definitely let me know. I'm your girl. This is the brush that I was using. It's the chenille brush.
We have it on hand.
I just cut off the stray threads and kind of gave it a brush. So hopefully I get that done here soon. Working on watching some movies and.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Hey, thanks for sharing a couple of your tips and tricks on making this.
Absolutely. You
All
guys
right.
have fun and let us know if you have any questions.
Happy sewing!